Hey everyone, and welcome to this short video where I'll be showcasing how we did set dressing on Kenya Bridge of Spirits. My name is Cam. I was a senior environment artist on the project, responsible for set dressing a large majority of the game, almost half. And right now we're inside Rusu's house. So this is one of the larger interiors in the game that Kenya gets to explore. And I put quite a lot of time here just making sure that it was very heavy on the dressing. It felt lived in, a lot of props that had been collected over time, and just kind of made it feel very unique, as if it was its own environment, so that the player could explore every nook and cranny. Um, at the moment, I've got my content browser docked off screen just for privacy reasons, I guess. I don't know if I'm allowed to share every single asset name. But the viewport, we can of course share that in this process. And what I've done is select the assets in this area. I'm just going to hide those so that we can start fresh and we can begin dressing. So normally this would have been completely blank without any sort of beams or anything. And I just went in and added some worktops for Rusu to have some areas to place a lot of his assets. And usually I just go through the content browser and start dragging and dropping a couple things in the environment, and just in the back of my mind, I'm always trying to think what the purpose may be, like why he may have a couple of these things in this environment. A couple of these things here, these are actually blueprints. So if I drag this over here, you can actually see these are just a stack of plates in a blueprint, and it just saves time. Rather than placing one plate at a time, I can just come in and drag and drop an entire selection, and not have to worry about putting one bolt inside another. A couple of things. We got this shop sign. I may just kind of place that here and have it as a sort of maybe workbench. And again, it's been quite some time since I worked with a lot of these assets, so you have to bear with me in terms of finding a couple of them. Got this toolbox. And we got some weapons here as well. Well, more tools than anything. Maybe there's a little stool here that Rusu is able to sit on. And we got some cloths as well. So we sometimes use these on these benches. Some sort of cloth. And again, there's always these other things that we can do, such as maybe like over here, maybe this is a little workstation where he's crafting a couple of things. So what I'm actually going to do is move a couple of these bowls, and I'm going to bring a bigger one, something like this. And I'm actually going to put a candle on here, so maybe he's heating something up, like one of these tools to start crafting his whatever it is that he's making. Another cool thing that we have are blueprint tables. So again, similar to the bowls, these are bespoke blueprints, just with a cluster of different meshes put together. And just making sure that it's in nice. And the nice thing with these is I can actually double click and start moving these. So even though it's a blueprint, I can make each blueprint look unique. So maybe he has this sort of a workstation here, but I'm actually not feeling that one. So I'm going to replace this with this one, this blueprint instead. Feels more like a workstation. Cool. And let's just carry on going through. I'm gonna maybe put one of these here. You can see that cloth is maybe a little bit too long for my liking there. Just modify that. Maybe bring another crate. And I'm gonna start bringing some sandbags in. So some of these chunky beefcakes here. You know, Rusu is just kind of collecting a lot of things at this point. At this point, I'm thinking maybe we need another light, so let's just go ahead and duplicate this to bring some more light. And the team's kindly put the blueprint together with the light source and everything, so that's wonderful. And I'm just gonna carry on. we've got a bucket. Maybe we can put that up here as well. Of course, we've got other things that we can throw. And here, you know, I got this unit, but maybe I want to just kind of duplicate that. And I remember we did work on one of these. So maybe I could bring this and kind of just shove that in there instead. You know, or I could get a bit creative and just put that in there. Just kind of have these units stretch like that and break this up a bit. Let's delete that. And the other nice thing we've got are some of these drawers that Tim kindly made through kit bashing. So again, you can just kind of place that like this. And of course, apologies for any silence, but that's sometimes how it is. These weapons are, again, blueprinted so that we can just grab these. Unfortunately, the pivot is not the best thing in the world, but we can go ahead and grab those and put those in there. But really what I want to focus on is just a few more pots. Again, we don't want to have the same one there, so let's go ahead and mix this up actually. Maybe put that. I've still got my original there that I like to keep for reference. We can grab a couple barrels, maybe a lid. I can actually maybe drop one of these barrels as well, something like that. And just right click and replace. Again, we don't want any clipping, or try to avoid it as much as possible. Always good. And where's those pots again? Actually, for a couple more in there. And again, you can always come in and add a few bowls if you want to. And the nice thing I did over here was actually take a couple plants, and I remember I just threw a few of those in some of these plant pots just to bring a little bit of greenery. And I do believe, I don't think I have it, bear with me, I don't think I have it anymore. Maybe I do, but I know Tim kind of made some herbs, but I'm just gonna quickly check if that was the, bear with me, I'm just gonna quickly pull up. No, we don't have, I guess not in my build. Don't have any of the dried herbs, but we'll quickly fly around and see what else there is. Cool. So the other thing is some incense sticks. So, you know, maybe rather than this plant, we can just go in and throw some sticks inside, something like that. A little bit of a cluster there, and Rusu's quite the messy person. Let's keep going. Maybe one of these drawers. And you can see just how small they are. So probably gonna have to scale those up a bit actually. I think the one over there is probably a bit too small. So go back to my blueprints. And the other cool thing actually we had in blueprints were these tables. So I could actually just delete this plank if I wanted to, and just come in and put one of these here instead. And I might just delete those. The nice thing with these is I can just right click and replace this with a workbench if I wanted to. So kind of constructed these in a way that were really useful for the team. So when I joined, we didn't really have any of these blueprints put together, and then I showcased like maybe we can start combining things in blueprints to save time. So we can just right click this, for example, and maybe Mike doesn't like that one and he just wants to replace it with a different one. You can just snap it and get that visual instantly and see what it might look like. So I made sure that we built this library that was useful for the entire team across all levels. There's a couple new ones, but of course it's a little bit different to what we originally had, but that's perfectly fine. That's part of the creativity here. The other thing I want to actually get is some fishing nets, so get one of those going. And the other cool thing was ivy. So I know a lot of people ask about overgrowth. So in Cana it was strictly static meshes. So I'm just thinking at the same time. So we didn't really do any fancy blueprints or anything. Like we did experiment with that stuff, but ultimately it's a lot more expensive than it's worth, in my opinion. I think as an artist, much as tools are there to make our lives easy, I think sometimes we get a little bit excited with tools and sometimes force ourselves to use them just for the sake of it, when in actual fact you can do a lot of heavy lifting and actually make the art look as you want it to look purely just by hand placing. Of course it takes more time, like that's a given, but I think having that control to do whatever you want is something that I prefer. Actually, I'm just kind of seeing what that might look like with that, but no, I'm just gonna use that and maybe just start duplicating these across instead, since I do have. Cool. So we need that pivot point. Cool. All right, so that is a really rough example of how we would do set dressing. Of course, I would maybe quickly grab some of these blueprints, just to, not those ones actually. Please bear with me. Where's the other ones that we made? Maybe some of these. Probably just some single assets actually, and just kind of funnel and plug a couple of these areas. Got some animal cages here. In Cana, we didn't really worry too much about these clipping assets. Of course, we fixed those as and when we could, but you can't make absolutely everything perfect. Especially when this room is going to be very dark. So at the moment, I've got the exposure set to -1, but in actual fact, the game's actually even darker than this because I've done some local edits where I had to change the exposure so I could at least work in this area. So that's kind of a really rough example. I say rough, this is the general process that I would take if I was doing this. And there's actually one last piece that I wanted to grab. There's some wood piles. There's a couple new things here that wasn't available when I finished the project. Like these log tables and other things, but you get the gist. Cool. And then the other thing, I know I keep saying I'm finished, but these things happen, and obviously got that section there. But the other thing is kind of like these hanging chimes that we could add. And there's an entire, this is just scratching the surface of the assets available. There's a lot more that I haven't played with, but this is the general process, and I'll just repeat that over here so you can kind of see. There's just a chester unit, a couple of these pieces, and then these tarps to kind of hide any sort of things we don't want the player to see, or just make it feel a bit more lived in. And then there's also the decals. So again, I could duplicate that and continue placing decals. And that is the short demo of just set dressing in Cana Bridge of Spirits and how we tackled some of the environments. It's very applicable to interiors. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Head on over to my art station. It's in the description. to check out more of the Cana Bridge of Spirits artwork. And there'll also be some other artists posted as well that you can check out their profiles for some of their artwork and their contributions to the game.